Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have articles in this episode for you, and all the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. The Political Insider, and it says FBI is following Islamic terrorist threats in all 50 states. Peak. The Department of Homeland Security has just made a bombshell announcement. Federal law enforcement are now conducting investigations into Islamic terror groups in all 50 states. DHS reports that the threats the Federal Bureau of Investigation are looking into are serious, and threats have reached an all-time high. After 8 years of the Obama White House. The FBI has opened terrorist investigations in all 50 states, according to DHS Secretary John Kelly, who disclosed on Tuesday that there have been at least 37 ISIS-linked plots to attack our country since 2013, a number that shows no signs of diminishing. First wide-ranging public address on the threat of terrorism in America since taking office warned that America's borders remain wide open and that there is evidence terror-linked individuals are exploiting these security weaknesses and entering the United States. We don't know their intentions, Kelly said during an address at George Washington University. We don't know why they're here or why they're coming. We are completely blind to what they're capable of. Also continue to sprout inside America communities across the country, according to Kelly, who said that in just the past year, there have been 36 homegrown terrorist cases in 18 states. We've seen unprecedented spike in homegrown terrorism, Kelly disclosed. These are cases we know about. Homegrown terrorism is notoriously difficult to predict and control. Terrorists in the United States are plotting attacks every single day, according to Kelly. I tell you without exaggeration, they try to carry out this mission each and every single day, and no one can tell you how to stop it. No one, he said. The United States, he continued, is under attack from a wide variety of bad actors, including failed states, cyber terrorists, vicious smugglers, and sadistic radicals. And we are under attack every single day, he said. The threats are relentless. Those who slip over the border undetected, including criminals, radicalized terrorists, pose an unparalleled threat to the country. We don't get to vet them, Kelly said. We don't know their intentions. We don't know they're here. They slip into our country unnoticed, living among us, and we are completely blind as to what they're capable of. These threats come as Islamic terrorist attacks have been on the rise around the world. Things are getting worse throughout Europe, and now the threat on American soil. DHS reports highly trained terrorist fighters are making their way into America, and this is happening while we are unable to get to vet the refugees. This is a clear indication of how critical President Trump's temporary travel ban has been to keeping America safe, but the threat is very serious. Kelly noted that the threat level is as high today as it was on September the 11th of 2001. America is on high alert. This is a breaking story, and it says we will update as more details become available. So we'll be keeping our eyes open for more on that. The next article is off of WND.com, and I'm waiting for the hamster to. Well, maybe I have to goose the hamster. I think he fell asleep on the wheel. Okay, here it comes finally. Muslim warns U.S. public be terrified. Cops investigate on me. Come on, hamster. You know, since he's only got 3 legs, he has a rough time running that wheel. Come on. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Cops investigate Facebook Live videos outside Christian conference. Make no arrests. Scroll up a little bit more here. It says a Muslim man entered a private gathering of Christians in a hotel room in South Dakota, started cursing and live streaming video on Facebook of the event, and then, after he was ushered out, displayed multiple firearms and issued statements the speakers say were in direct threat to their safety. Try this. The man wearing a t-shirt said, "I'm American, I'm Muslim, I open carry, I conceal carry, and I'm dangerous only if you're stupid," was approached by a security guard and told to leave. Once back in his car, he brandished an arsenal of weapons, including 2 military-style rifles um, with loaded magazines and 3 handguns, and made several threats to be scared, be effing scared, be terrified. Again, it was all live streamed on Facebook while parked in the conference center parking lot. To the surprise of the conference organizers in Sioux Falls, after reviewing the videos, police chose not to charge the man with any crime. The state's attorney says he's still investigating, but didn't see anything criminal in the nature on the videos. The Muslim man, Ihab Jabbar, a self-described former resident of Saudi Arabia who works as a server at a local steakhouse in Sioux Falls, was questioned by police and the FBI following his bizarre behavior at the April 9th Christian Worldwide Conference. And now at the event are saying if security guard had not noticed Jabbar's strange activity and escorted him out, something bad could have happened to roughly 500 Christians, including women, children, and at least 2 state legislators who were in attendance. It was a ticketed event, but we didn't have enough volunteers to be checking everyone coming in, said Sharam Hadeen, a former Muslim turned Christian pastor and one of the speakers. The guy came in after the event started, so the way the hotel was set up, there were just too many ways to get in. This was a private event, a closed event for Christians, but that's how he got in because we just didn't have the manpower to be checking everyone. I do believe the off-duty police officer who noticed what was going on is a hero who may have stopped back, said Brandon Howe, who was on the podium speaking when Jabbar was asked to leave. And they do have the live video that was streamed on Facebook in this article if you want to watch this. Wow. That's all I can say. Just wow. Let me just scroll up here just a little bit more. Barr entered the Woodview Weekend Conference at the Hilton Garden Inn on Palm Sunday, April the 9th, where several hundred people gathered to hear speakers address Islamic persecution of Christians worldwide. Jabbar's first action was to film the cover of his Quran. Then the audience. Jabbar was approached by an officer who was working security at the event, where it was announced beforehand that no videos were allowed to be taken. He told the officer he was Muslim and gave a false name. "My name is John Smith," he said, as he is shown on the video being ushered out. The Muslim John Smith. After the security guard escorted Jabbar out of the conference, he made a second video from his car parked in the hotel parking lot, in which he displayed 2 military-style rifles and 3 handguns, as well as dozens of rounds of ammunition loaded into magazines. There's about probably 400 people in there, if not maybe 500. And now if you wait to be really scared, he said. And he held up 5 different weapons in the second video. Be scared, be terrified. The speakers at the event, Hadeen and radio talk show host Brandon Howe, spoke with local law enforcement and afterward, and also contacted the FBI. But Jabbar was not arrested nor charged with a crime. Now, a separate set of laws for Muslims and non-Muslims, wrote activist author Pamela Geller in her blog on Monday. Sharia in America. If non-Muslim was armed to the teeth, obscenely threatening Muslims with massive firepower at a mosque in their parking lot, he would be arrested. His face smeared across every newspaper and nightly news program across the country. This Muslim was not arrested. The strange story of the unwelcomed guest was prefaced, Hadin points out, by important background leading up to the event. Earlier this year, far-left Southern Poverty Law Center added Hadin's ministry, Truth in Love Ministries of Spokane, Washington, to its list of hate groups. A little bit on me here. Let me get it under control. Since that happened, wherever Hadin speaks, he encounters protests from Muslims and liberal activist groups. The local mosque in Sioux Falls was tipped off to Hadin's impending visit to Sioux Falls by an article in the local newspaper, the Argus Leader, which cited the hate group designation by SPLC. The Sioux Falls Police Department notified the speakers that the Islamic Center of Sioux Falls has filed a permit to protest the World View Weekend rally event as a bigoted and Islamophobic. The property for Islamic Center of Sioux Falls is owned by North American Islamic Trust, meaning it is part of the Muslim Brotherhood's network of American mosques waging civilization jihad, said John Ginaldo, a former FBI counterterrorism specialist who consults law enforcement agencies nationwide. Muslim Brotherhood threatened, and Muslim showed up in what was a possible thwarted attack, and local officials did nothing, Ginaldo wrote in a blog at Understanding the Threat. This is how America will lose this war if it does not change course immediately at the local level. The media trashed on Sharam and myself a week before we got there, House told WND. I believe the police administration saw that and they didn't want their department to be labeled as we were. The politicians have a political career to be worried about. They're self-serving people who do not care about the American people and their safety. Politically correct careers. Hayden was also baffled. This is not good news for us. To have more security, probably see more protests. His videos are probably going to go viral. He's now getting hundreds of views on his page. He's going to be glorified. Hayden said about 40 to 50 protesters greeted him and House when they arrived at the hotel in Sioux Falls to speak. He said he has no problem with the protesters, but when an armed man sneaks into an event and films it on Facebook while uttering a profanity-laced tirade, that concerns him. We're now told by our legal counsel that the prosecutor in that county, the prosecutor in Sioux Falls, they're going to do nothing, Hayden said. Nothing, nothing, nothing. That's outrageous. The message being sent by law enforcement is clear, said House. If you're Christian daring to speak out against Islamic violence, then prepare to be a martyr, because the elected prosecutors, which are really which are really politicians, don't give a darn about you or your safety. House, the founder of Worldview Weekend Foundation and Worldwide Review Radio, said he wonders, wish this hamster would get under control here. Okay, he wonders what the response from law enforcement would be if an armed white Christian walked into a Muslim conference and made the same type of comments on live stream video. He said he believes the outcome would have been different. He is armed to the hilt, and he's parked outside the hotel where we are holding our conference. Well, hamster's going nuts. There we go. Where we are holding our conference, and he shows his weapons on video and says, "Be scared, be terrified," cursing all the while. House said we had to edit we had to edit his profanity out of the video. House said his organization kept the incident quiet for a week. They wanted to give law enforcement a chance to investigate. and see if they would do the right thing. Secondly, they had 4 more cities lined up on the speaking tour, so they did not want to call more attention to themselves and stir up more protests and possible violence by intolerant leftist organizations like those who set fires on the campus of University of California at Berkeley earlier this year. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion, and not many Americans are aware of it. Hang on. Get all the facts in. Michelle Bachmann has called the most important read of 2017. It's Stealth Invasion, Muslim Conquest Through Immigration and Resettlement Jihad. After the event Sunday in Sioux Falls, they moved on to speak in Wisconsin cities of La Crosse, Green Bay, Madison, and Milwaukee, 5 cities in 5 nights. The FBI sent out a bulletin alerting other 4 cities on the speaking tour to make sure security was beefed up for the Christian Worldview conferences. I believe that police officer who was off duty, who caught him filming with his Quran, I believe he stopped something from happening, House told WND. One of the police officers told me, I think we stopped something bad from happening. Police say no law was broken. Lieutenant Mike Colwell of the Sioux Falls Police Department confirmed for WND that no charges will be filed by his department. It is correct there was a gentleman who arrived at the event and was live streaming. It was contacted by a hired security guard at the event, Colwell said, and when officers did contact him, they were able to check his social media, Facebook account, and found videos where he did display some guns and make some threats, but the threats were not directed at any one specific individual or group. He was using speech that was aggressive, but not necessarily saying it was threatening. The video was made in the parking lot outside the conference. We completed the investigation, which was reviewed by the state attorney office in Lincoln County, and at this time the state's attorney has decided not to charge him with anything related to the event or any of the language that's being shown on that video. Lincoln County State Attorney Tom Woolman told WND, however, that he is still investigating the incident, as is the FBI. It's an active, open investigation. That's not the case that a decision has been made, he said. But Woolman said the fact that the police did not make an arrest at the scene makes his job harder. They did not make an arrest. Since they did not make an arrest, obviously they didn't believe there was probable cause that a crime was committed. I don't know that we'll have anything more in the near future on it to check back, Woolman added. No doubt standard in South Dakota. Woolman said Jabbar was within his rights as a South Dakota resident to open carry weapons in his car or on his person, or to conceal carry if he had a valid permit. The constitutional rights are there. Obviously, law enforcement made the decision that there wasn't a violation of state gun laws, he said. He said he did not agree with the House that South Dakota had a double standard for applying the law, one for Muslims who are treated as an oppressed minority, and another for non-Muslims who get the book thrown at them. Maybe that double standard exists in some parts of the country. I don't believe it exists in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I don't think that was part of the story here, he told WND. And at any rate, we enforce the law across the board. Whether it's a Christian offender or a Muslim offender, we look at the facts that we have in front of us, and that's the standard we have. Asked if he was afraid of Muslim civil rights groups suing the city, Woolman said he was not. Every day of the week on his job, I am aware that there is evil in our community, and by the oath of office I took, I'm aware that I have to apply the law fairly. I'm not afraid of anyone, certainly not Mr. Jabbar. He said he was not aware of any crimes on Jabbar's record. I'm not aware of any record. He's a host and a server in a high-end steakhouse here in Sioux Falls, and everyone who works with him enjoys working with him. We can't run roughshod over people's First Amendment rights or their Second Amendment rights, he said. We're taking this very, very seriously, Woolman told WND. I guess my question would be, I always have more questions than I have answers, but my question would be, would you be comfortable going to that steakhouse and ordering food knowing that this guy who has made terroristic threats, as far as I'm concerned, be afraid, be very afraid, that he is in there handling your food. He's a server in a very high-end steakhouse in Sioux Falls. I would not be comfortable having him handle my food after that. Maybe you would. Next one here is off CNN Politics. Trump pushes Buy American, Hire American policy in Wisconsin. In this, if you want to pull it up to view the video. And we'll see if we can get scroll down here. President Donald Trump signed an executive order Tuesday directing federal agencies to implement Buy American, Hire American rhetoric of his campaign. The Buy and Hire American order I'm about to sign will protect workers and students like you, Trump told a crowd of technical students and manufacturing employees at the headquarters of Snap-on Tools, a Wisconsin-based manufacturer. It's America first. You better believe it. It's time, right? The order, which Trump signed after delivering his remarks, looks to bolster protections for certain American-made goods and calls for a review of the H-1B visa program for skilled workers with the goal of reforming the program, senior administration officials said. Trump said the order would aggressively promote and use American-made goods and to ensure that American labor is hired to do the job. Landing American grit and craftsmanship, Trump once again embraced the populist rhetoric that fueled his campaign during his remarks Tuesday, decrying the World Trade Organization as another one of our disasters and also calling the NAFTA free trade deal a complete and total disaster. Senior administration officials who briefed reporters Monday touted the executive order as a historic step that would help protect American manufacturers and American workers, whom the administration believes have been hurt by hurt by lax enforcement of Buy American laws and employers abusing the H-1B visa program. The executive order, though, does not take direct action to fundamentally change either portion. Instead, initiating a series of reviews and assessments and calling on federal departments to begin proposing reforms to the program. The order would send clear signal to federal agencies responsible for enforcing the program that the administration wants to see more aggressive stance, officials said. Both Buy American and Hire American rules have been enormously diluted over time, resulting in many lost job opportunities for American workers. One senior administration official said, adding that groups on both sides of the aisle have called for reforms of those rules to no avail. This is what America wants, said a second official. On the Hire American front, the executive order directs federal agencies to more strictly enforce H-1B visa laws and propose reforms to the program to prevent fraud and abuse and ensure visas are awarded to the most skilled applicants. The H-1B visa program is intended to bring skilled workers in certain fields to the U.S., but the administration contended that employees have abused the program to hire workers who will accept cheaper pay than Americans. The Buy American portion of the order directs agencies to conduct a top-to-bottom performance review of the use of waivers and calls for stricter enforcement laws pertaining to the purchase of U.S.-made goods by the federal government and the use of U.S.-made iron and steel in projects supported by federal funds. Buy American is the Trump administration's highest priority when it comes to spending taxpayer dollars, one senior administration official said. The CEO of Snap-on, the manufacturers Trump will visit on Tuesday, said in a statement he believes the president visit emphasizes the need to nurture U.S. manufacturing strength. But the CEO, Nicholas Pinchuk, pointed not to measures to protect American-made goods or reforms to the H-1B visa program, but rather to more training for workers. We are today in global competition for jobs, and the best way to make America successful in this environment is to arm our people with the technical capabilities that enable them to win that global contest for prosperity, Pinchuk said in a statement on the company website. The trip to Wisconsin is Trump's first since becoming president. Trump clinched victory in the state that hasn't voted for a Republican president since 1984, in part by turning counties like Kenosha County, which happens to be home to his chief of staff, Reince Priebus, his way. Trump narrowly defeated his rival Hillary Clinton in the county, only by 238 votes, in a 47% to 47% split. But that came after President Barack Obama carried the county in both 2008 and 2012 by 18 and 12 percentage points, respectively. The visit to politically crucial state that helped carry Trump to a shocking electoral victory in November comes as Trump approaches the 100-day mark of his presidency, and Trump is eager to show signs of success in action. The next article I have is off BizPac Review, and it says, effect on crime rate after D.C. eliminated handgun ban didn't go the way anti-gun activists planned. Eliminating the District of Columbia's comprehensive handgun ban had almost no effect on homicides committed with or without such firearms in the nation's capital, according to an analysis by the Daily Caller News Foundation investigative group. Nearly 80% of all D.C. homicide victims from 2000 through 2007 were killed with a gun. City and federal data compiled by the Washington Post and analyzed by the DCNF found that figure dropped to 74% after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in District of Columbia versus Heller that Washington's handgun ban was unconstitutional in 2008. But there's a graph in this where they show the gun homicides versus all homicides. It says, but as the graph above illustrates, the post-Heller decrease in both the annual number of gun-related homicides and all homicides extended an overall trend that began in 2002 and continued through 2012. The post-Heller decrease was observed despite a 2013 incident in which one man killed 12 people at a Washington Navy Yard. Attacker Aaron Alexis launched his attack with a shotgun. I expect murders to fall, Crime Prevention Research Center President John Lott told the DCNF. How they fall is a different question. The person who generally obeyed the ban were law-abiding citizens and not criminals. He noted that drug gangs, which are frequently the shooters in D.C., homicides, obtained handguns regardless of whether the ban was in place. Local officials approved a law in 1975 that made obtaining a handgun legally in D.C. virtually impossible, with long waits, multiple forms, and intensive background checks. The legislation also strictly regulated how firearms of all kinds were stored at home. But the Supreme Court decided that the handgun ban was unconstitutional and overturned the law in 2008. Some pro-gun control advocates accepted the decision because the judge left room for local officials to approve reasonable regulation of firearms, but many others predicted D.C. residents would be less safe. More handguns in the District of Columbia will only lead to more handgun violence. Then Mayor Adrian M. Fetney, a Democrat, said after the decision. Similar California Democrat Senator Feinstein said the people of this great country will be less safe because of it. Then Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence legal director Juliet Lepwich said in 2009 that little has changed when it comes to gun violence or gun policy in America. And then they have another graph showing the percentage of gun homicides in Washington, D.C., where they went way down in 2012, and they're way back up in 2016. It says the DCNF only analyzed homicide data. Those crimes decreased significantly in D.C. after 2008, with 45 fewer. With 45 fewer in 2009. Gun homicides alone dropped nearly 22%, almost identical to the decline in all homicides. I doubt that the shift had anything to do with Heller, Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Policy and Research Daniel Webster told the DCNF. Firearm-related homicide rates in large central metro jurisdictions nationwide took an abrupt downward trend following 2008. Also, D.C.'s homicide decline began in 2003, but has increased significantly the last 2 years, with an accompanying increase in gun homicides. The overall total of 162 homicides in 2015 is still short of the 262 mark in 2002. the highest for the 16-year period the DCNF analyzed. Trends for homicides committed with firearms are rarely in sync with trends for homicides committed by other means, Webster said, noting that D.C. replaced the handgun ban with strict gun control laws. What happened ultimately with the Heller decision was that it moved D.C. from a ban to a highly regulated environment, he continued. Standards for who can legally purchase and possess firearms in their homes are higher in D.C. than any other state. The ban, which was in place for more than 30 years, most certainly reduced the number of guns available for criminals through theft, Webster said. Those conditions are relevant for public safety beyond the day that the Supreme Court strikes down the ban. Both Webster and Lott noted that very few guns were registered after the Heller decision. Lott pointed to another significant determination in the Supreme Court decision. The big thing that Heller had was not the handgun ban being overturned, he said. Heller legalized people being able to use guns in self-defense. Knowing D.C. residents might have readily accessible self-defense firearms in their homes may also have deterred violent crimes, Lott said. The next article is also off of BizPac Review. It says, oof, Maxine Waters accidentally blurts out the truth about working class taxes while bashing Trump and his taxes. Only weeks after a major story that proved Donald Trump paid $38 million in taxes, Congresswoman Maxine Waters is now on TV saying Trump pays no taxes. The California Democrat appeared on left-wing cable network MSNBC, where else, to disgorge her laughably false claim about Trump's taxes. During her appearance, she noted that many Americans are struggling to pay their taxes, but what made her mad is not that Americans are struggling, but that Trump doesn't pay taxes. Americans all over this country, many are struggling to pay their taxes, Waters blurted out. Middle-income people, working people, and many have to pay taxes that they can't afford. Bingo. Even Maxine Waters can't hide from the truth of all time. Clearly not realizing that she'd let the truth slip out, she went on to bash Trump. This president is basically laughing at us because remember during his campaign he said, I pay no taxes, and I believe that. Of course, Waters' concern should be about those who cannot afford to pay the taxes so often touted by big government-loving Democrats, but her agenda doesn't seem to be for the American people as much as it is for her political party. Waters made these same absurd claims about Trump at a recent left-wing anti-Trump protest. Firstly, it appeared, Firstly, it apparently hasn't occurred to Maxine Waters to lower taxes so that we can afford to pay them, but her wild claim that Trump pays no taxes is simply a lie. Only a month ago, the whole country was laughing at MSNBC host Rachel Maddow when she promoted a story that only ended up ruining the left's anti-Trump narrative by proving that the president paid $38 million in taxes. Waters' claim is based on a quip by Mr. Trump uttered during one of the presidential debates when losing Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton said Trump pays no taxes. Trump joked, that makes me smart. Far from Trump laughing at us, many people have found themselves laughing at Maxine Waters, though. And there's a whole bunch of tweets. Some say, people are so delusional. You're the one who needs to go. Another one says, an idiot living in a bubble, sad. Another one here says, what is disgusting disgrace to our government? A moron who is incompetent in the House. Where is Crimea? And there's a bunch more if you want to read them all. The next one here is off BizPac Review. And it says, media concerned when Trump signs a child's hat at the Easter egg roll. Liberal Trump haters couldn't wait to bash the president for being mean and dismissing a child at an annual Easter egg roll. There's just one issue. They were completely wrong yet again. The brouhaha started after Politico posted a video that showed a youngster giving a Make America Great Again hat to President Donald Trump to sign, which he did. Then it appeared that the president flung the hat back into the crowd for any random fan to get, causing a frenzy of responses from mainstream and social media. And get it down here. It says that there's a whole bunch of tweets that go along with this. Let's see. I guess I need to read those to make this complete. Politico said a kid asked Trump to sign his hat at the White House egg roll, and President signs, then tosses the hat into the crowd. And the Independent puts out, child asked Trump to sign their hat. Trump signs it, then throws it into the crowd. Tommy Chong puts out, Trump tossing the signed Easter egg party shows his contempt for his fans, very sick. And Dig puts out, Trump signs kid's hat, then immediately throws it into the crowd. And Robert McGuire says at the Easter egg roll, kid asked Trump to sign his MAGA hat. Trump signs it, then tosses it away, and the kid says no. Frank Stein says at Easter egg roll, a child asked Trump to sign a hat. Trump signs it, but does not give the hat back. Instead, throws the hat away. WTF? That's crazy. Another one says, yeah, that's, or no, the article goes on. It says, yeah, that's also incorrect. NBC Nightly News, Micah Grimes posted the video on social media from another angle that showed President Trump flipped it to the same young man who gave him the hat to sign. Social media users were not surprised that the media attempted to spin the story to make the president look bad. Alex Griswold said, just another day on www.twitter.com. Anna Jesme says, I can't stand Trump, but he had to toss it so that the teen who handed it to him could get it back. Fair is fair. He didn't make a kid cry. Dan Goldwasser tweeted, why people hate the media, part number 248, 195, 29. Another one says, this is some pretty damning video evidence that the editors at Politico pull stories out of their ass. Politico either misrepresents or is outright fake news. No surprise here. Politico with fake news of the day. Another one. I hate Trump, but he definitely tossed it back to the original kid. Another one says Politico pawned for based tweet yet again. Well done, Micah. Another one says Politico is fake news. Then the next one off of BizPac Review says, new book, Obama had to push Hillary to concede 2016 election. Former President Barack Obama pushed Hillary Clinton to concede to Donald Trump in the wee hours of the morning on November the 9th of 2016. Moments after she had done so, she called the president back to apologize for her crushing defeat, according to an excerpt from a new book, Shattered Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Election Campaign, obtained by the Daily Mail. The book, written by political journalists Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes, detailed the roller coaster ride Clinton took on election night. According to the authors, Clinton felt she had let her country down when she spoke to former President Obama and knew that his legacy lay shattered at Donald Trump's feet. You need to concede, Obama told Clinton as the results came in and was apparent that she had been defeated. Then President Obama was determined to make sure that his friend understood that the election was over and that he didn't see any point in prolonging the inevitable, as he wanted to avoid a recount mess. After the call, Clinton's aide, Huma Abedin, called Kellyanne Conway and got the two candidates on the phone, where Clinton offered her concession. Congratulations, Donald, she reportedly said. I'll be supportive of the country's success, and that means your success as president. Moments later, Obama called again, according to the book. Obama's legacy and her dreams of presidency lay shattered at Donald Trump's feet. This was on her. Reluctantly, she rose from her seat and took the phone. Mr. President, Clinton said softly, I'm sorry. A previously released excerpt from the book revealed how Clinton and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, verbally abused her staff after she suffered a humiliating defeat to Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in the Michigan primary. Next one is off BizPac Review, and it says, man died happily after family lies to him that Trump was impeached. CNN's credibility has plunged since President Trump took office, thanks to the unending cheap shots the network takes in an attempt to undermine and embarrass him. In its latest weak-kneed salvo, CNN spotlighted a random man's obituary simply because it mentioned Trump in a negative light. According to the obit, Michael Garland Elliott of Oregon died peacefully on April the 6th after being told that Trump had been impeached. Mike ran out of family long ago and is survived by his ex-wife and best friend, Teresa Elliott. Though their marriage ran aground, their friendship only grew stronger, and hers was the last voice Mike heard, and the last thing she said to him was, "Donald Trump has been impeached." Upon hearing that, he took his final gentle breath, and earthly work concluded. CNN comically noted in its story, "To be clear, Trump has not been impeached, but it's safe to assume that Elliott, who was born in Charlottesville, Virginia, around 1940, was not a fan of the president." CNN even misspelled Charlottesville in its inane post. While you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, there's no rule saying you can't do the same of deceased survivors. In this case, the family of the deceased must have known their tongue-in-cheek obituary would get news coverage and plenty of it. It's unclear if the deceased would have approved of his family exploiting in death for 15 minutes of fame. It's because of this kind of nonstop anti-Trump media coverage that the president shut down a CNN reporter in January by declaring, "You are fake news." Meanwhile, Twitter reacted to CNN's breaking news coverage of an obscure anti-Trumper obituary with snarky hilarity. And there's a whole bunch of tweets about this. I'll just grab one at random here. It says, "Personally, I think that putting that statement in the article diminishes the life of the man. Was it worth it?" Sad comment on a person's legacy. Yeah, no doubt. Next one here is off BizPac Review. It says, "Libs have had it with Hillary's excuses. Jake Tapper sends her back to time out for more introspection." Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has been playing the blame game for years, accounting every one of her failures to some or something other than herself, and CNN's Jake Tapper has had enough. Her last excuse-ridden claim involved her loss in November presidential election to Donald Trump, a race she was expected to have won handily. She doesn't have to, or try that again. She doesn't seem to have done enough introspection, Tapper observed of Clinton on the lead. He noted a whole list of reasons why Clinton lost and suggested that she blamed other people like Russian President Vladimir Putin and FBI Director James Comey too much for her loss. Putin didn't tell you, "Don't go to Wisconsin." James Comey didn't tell you to call 1/4 of the country deplorable, Tapper said. The then Democratic presidential nominee was lambasted for placing half of Trump's supporters into what she called a basket of deplorables. Clinton also attributed her loss to WikiLeaks, misogyny, and, most confusing of all, news media, which, with few exceptions, wholeheartedly supported her. Even Democratic political analyst Kristen Powers found it impossible to offer her any support on the issue. It's just interesting. Never in this equation is Hillary Clinton to blame for anything, and she was, after all, the candidate. There were outside forces that were affecting the campaign, no question, but there were a lot of things, I think, related to her candidacy that were problematic, Powers said. Clinton has also blamed Benghazi on the fog of war, the mass shooting at traditionally black South Carolina church on Donald Trump, a racially insensitive joke on New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, and Hurricane Hermine, Florida's first in 11 years on climate change. So what else is new? And the final article in this episode is off of Western Journalism, and it says, "House Democrats want Kushner's security clearance revoked." Using a report in the New York Times as the foundation for their demands, a group of Democratic lawmakers are urging that Jared Kushner have his security clearance revoked. The Times reported last week in that paperwork filed for his top security clearance, Kushner did not disclose contracts with Russian officials during the transition period between President Donald Trump's election and his January 20th inauguration. The report included comments from Kushner's lawyers saying that any omissions were an error that would be rectified, and that Kushner had an interim clearance. Kushner, the husband of President's daughter Ivanka, holds a position as an advisor in the Trump White House. The Times report sought to equate the omissions with the conduct of Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, who did not disclose contacts with Russian officials and later failed to fully disclose the contacts or the contents of his conversations with administration officials. House Democrats said the story demands federal action. They complained the report did not receive scrutiny it deserved. Given severity of the allegations and still unanswered questions about this administration's recently uncovered covert dealings with Russian government and intelligence officials, we are requesting that Mr. Kushner's interim top secret security clearance be suspended pending a review of Mr. Kushner's compliance with the laws and regulations governing security clearance, the letter stated. The letter was signed by Democratic Representatives Don Beyer of Virginia, Ted Lieu of California, Jamie Raskin of Maryland, Jerry Nadler of New York, and Peter Welch of Vermont. The representatives' demands include that Kushner immediately make public all meetings he had with foreign government officials between June 16th of 2015, the date Mr. Trump announced his candidacy for president of the United States, and January the 20th, 2017, the date the president was sworn in. The letter also claims that Kushner's omission is likely related to the Trump campaign alleged connections with Russia. Mr. Kushner's lack of candor about meetings with Russian officials appears to be part of a larger pattern of dissembling and deception on Russian contacts from the Trump team, and we believe the public deserves the truth about what connection, if any, exists between these incidents, read the letter. Kushner is among those who will be interviewed by the Senate Intelligence Committee in its investigation of ties between Trump campaign and Russia. That's all I have in this episode, but I got another episode to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news, and don't forget to subscribe. That way you'll stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.